Yo, what's up, you guys? So today I'm going to be ranking some of your hottest Wizard101 takes that have been sent to me on Discord and Twitter. Before I get to the actual video, I want to thank you guys for all the love shown on my videos. And if you guys want to be shown in some of my future videos, feel free to join my Discord. The link is in the description. Follow me on Twitter, also in the description. And I will go ahead and jump straight into it. So I'm going to go ahead, go with the first one given to me by a member of my Discord. He says packs should be for cosmetic gear, and that's about it. Now, a lot of people are making takes like this, especially recently, just because there is new packs, obviously, that are coming out with test realms. Some of them are in live realm right now. Right here, the Burrows Rebellion pack, which has a new spell and a bunch of new gear. So very competitive gear in PvP, as you guys can see. And people are discussing if this should be fair or not. So in my opinion, packs should not just be cosmetic. There obviously are some very good cosmetic items in packs, but in my opinion, they should be the equal level to the gear attainable in worlds. For example, the Explorer, or the pack that dropped the equivalent to the Eternal gear earlier this year that came out, the Novus Explorer pack, that is completely fair. None of that gear is better than gear obtainable in the worlds. It is just a pay-to-win option. If you are more of a casual player or you do not have the time to actually sit down and farm the gear, you have the ability to buy it. That, I feel like, is the only valid exception to actual pack gear, except for the ones that are obtainable in gauntlets as well. So gear like the Nightmare gear, I feel like, is completely fair because there is a very realistic way to obtain that gear in the game. But packs like the Skyfarer gear and the Burrow gear now, how it stands right now in Test Realm and Live Realm, there's no way to obtain that gear in the actual game other than buying the pack, which makes that gear extremely pay to win with no free-to-play option. So I feel like those two, there's definitely an argument to be made there. I feel like in the future, if they add free-to-play options to get that gear, then there might be a new discussion around that. But in my opinion, that I'm going to rate this as a 6 because I feel like gear should not be as pay to win as it is now, but there should definitely be gear with stats in packs. So for the second one, this person also is in my Discord. He says, what is the point of the raid? This was in response to my question saying, most of the new pack gear in the Burrow pack is better than the raid gear. So what is the point of the raid? Now, obviously, raids have been described to not be easy. They are, especially in-game content now that the new raid is only going to be obtainable by max level characters. Challenging in-game content that is supposed to give competitive gear. Now, for those of you guys who have been aware of the leaks of the gear that have been shown, a lot of the gear dropped in this newest raid is pretty subpar compared to already existing pack gear and pack gear that has also been leaked. Now, obviously, some of this gear is subject to change because it is test realm, as well as the upgrade to 170 when the new world comes out, on top of new world gear that we will see in the winter. It begs the question, what is the point of the raid if this gear is not competitive? There are a lot of badges, which are collectionist kind of thing, not really something that the normal player would need. So as it stands right now, there really is no point to use this raid. If you are a PvP heavy player, none of this gear really, as it stands today, is going to benefit you very much in PvP. But just because the stats are not as good as pack gear, it just simply is not. And in PvP, if you do not have the best gear, you're probably not going to make it that far, because not only are you going to be playing with subpar stats, if you fight a mirror, meaning someone who else, your opponent is on the same school as you and they have the best gear, you are at an extreme disadvantage. The pets are not good compared to the last raid pets and some pets that are already widely available. The decks are not as good as the Skyfarer decks. So all in all, right now, there is no point to do the raid. If you are just kind of like a completionist character and you want to do everything, by all means, figure it out, go for it, do it as you please. But assuming that the gear in the next world is going to be either competitive or just flat out better than the raid gear, as it stands right now, there is no point to do this raid. The next one is, someone on Twitter, few parts. So main deck Feint should not be banned, and is balanced. I agree with this because I don't really see the point of Feint being banned. The only reason why Feint was ever really good in PvP was the Medusa Feint combo. Now, obviously, the reason why these are being banned for PvP is because of advanced combat. But I think the devs should find a way to separate that. You should not just ban all cards in PvP that you also want banned in advanced combat. They already shown that they have the gating system to where they can separate cards from being banned in PvE and PvP. That should also be implemented to separate PvP, PvE, and advanced. There's no reason why every card that they want to be banned in advanced should also be banned in PvP, because all you're doing by banning all these cards in PvP is limiting the amount of different strats people could do. Feint stacking was a very bad strat in PvP, but it was something different. We have not seen people do that in a long time, and now because Medusa is banned in PvP, there's kind of no point to even carry Feint. So it feels like they are focusing on the wrong things in terms of actually banning cards in PvP. He says bad juju should not be banned. It should be balanced with a slight adjustment. Now, I agree with this. They already shown, again, with this card specifically, that they have different paths for it. As most of you guys know, bad juju in PvP takes 25% of your HP, and then in PvE it only takes 250. So they've already shown that they have ways of separating the card uses between PvE and PvP. So, there's obviously never going to be an argument for, pro banning cards that is more valid than just auditing them. They should have audited the PvP one to either a smaller weakness and less HP taken, or something to make this card valuable and useful in PvP. Outright banning it, all that's going to do is limit the amount of cards people can carry, and it's just going to simplify the game a lot more than it should be, which is kind of counterintuitive to the way they're trying to do it. So I agree with this. I do not think that it should have been banned. I think they should just rechange it, because as they could stand it right now, no one's packing bad juju. So banning it is not changing anyone's deck. But by changing the spell and auditing it, more people would pack it and diversify the game. He also says AoE changes should be reverted until more spell limit paths are added across the board to prevent these spells from being banned in PvP. This kind of ties into the last point I just made. There's never going to be an argument in favor of banning cards that is more valid than just auditing them, because it just limits the spell pool that you can choose from and makes the game a lot more vanilla than it should be. So I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next one from the same user on Twitter. He said, dual school blades, this is a big one, should not have been added. At least now we're losing some strong blade counters at the moment, Earthquake and Feeble, and I've not seen the meta react to this yet. Now, this is completely true. I agree with this completely. The idea that Earthquake is being banned is very, very bad, and one reason and one reason only. So I'm going to split this argument into two pieces. So we know blade stacking is a strategy and trap stacking is a strategy. Now, trap stacking has a lot of good counters, right? There is Lightening the Scales, and then there's a lot of ramp spells that give, good trap counters. So you can turn traps into other traps, and you can buff your own OTs. You can use Centaur and turn traps into blades. You can use, Lightening the Scales and take shields off. But, as most of you guys know, shields are a lot more used than weaknesses, because a lot of people are setting up shield gambits and not as many people are setting up weakness gambits. So, with there being so many good trap counters, you can really go multiple different directions in countering a strat. With blades, there's really only Eye of Vigilance and Banshee, which is an issue because you're going to force everyone to be packing the same card. For trap countering, you have a lot of options. Again, like I said, Centaur, you can use the Fire Trap to OT spell, you use the Fire Trap to OT trap spell on every school, because, Myth can use it to buff their OTs, Life can use it to buff their OTs now with the Burrow spell. There are so many options, and it's not as big of a deal because of there being so many options. The strategies are very easy to counter. PvE strats should be easy to counter. With how blades are going now, by removing Earthquake, you're removing your end-all be-all blade counter. Same with Enfeeble. Now, even though only one school had Enfeeble, this is a big problem because there is not really that viable blade counters that everyone could use. Other than, the certain ones that turn blades into blades, those are not universal. Same with blades into traps, again, not universal. Now, I believe if they changed Oni's Destruction and Jin's Larceny to be universal blades, then that would be one thing, and brought back Rochambeau TCs to where everyone could pack them in side deck. Then, you'd have an argument for it not to matter. If Rochambeau TCs were allowed back in side deck, those Earthquakes would not be a big deal, because instead of just removing all blades, you could turn those blades into, 30 blades on yourself. or 20 blades on yourself even, and you'd be able to kill the opponent faster. I've always believed that is the better way to counter it. Instead of just sitting there spamming rock paper scissors spells, you could actually use those buffs to turn them into your own buffs to kill the opponent faster. And that was kind of the entire point behind Rochambeau. Instead of just adding, an end all trap counter, like Earthquake, but for traps, they added certain spells that would, for example, like Oni's Naturalism for life, that would make it easier to kill the person stacking you by you being able to turn their buffs into your buffs and hit them harder. So I feel like, as it stands right now, banning Earthquake and Enfeeble is really bad, but I'm hoping the devs realize that and they will offer more, Rampage, maybe, the Arc 2 spell elements. Maybe, we see some of those spells be turned into advanced blade counters or something. I'm hoping that they're taking a direction like that instead of just making it to where, all people are going to be doing is blade stacking, because that's kind of what we're looking at right now. If Banshee is the only blade counter and it only removes 2, you're going to see a lot of people who not only have that third blade spot, but will just spam tri-blades and they will blade stack because there is no end-all blade counter. And that's just this nature of how it is. And with how many spells like Minotaur and like Oni's Forge and like Jin's Defense and like Betrayal that can remove shields, multiple shields at one time, you're going to be seeing a lot of people blade and trap stack at the same time, because not only is all these spells are going to give you huge buffs in the end, but you also see stats being unbalanced to where people can run like 70 resist and do all this blade and trap stacking on top of healing now. It is going to be a very interesting meta, and I feel like the devs have not played and quality tested this enough to realize the effects that removing Earthquake is going to have. So if you guys have any other ones of these takes, feel free to join my Discord. Again, the link is in the description. Feel free to drop a sub on my channel and a comment. Every single sub shows me that you guys are liking these videos, and I will continue to make more of them. With that being said, I will see you guys in the next one.